So do you want to finally make your dream business a reality? Well, today, welcome to Supercharge Sunday, where we're going to supercharge your confidence with our special guest, Christabel Flaherty, all the way from London, UK. And she helps female entrepreneurs find their confidence and feel confidence in their marketing so they can build the business of their dreams. And today's Supercharged Sunday is brought to us by Kasuri, who puts the fun in function with bold and colorful travel accessories and one-of-a-kind eyewear, so you stand out and shine at kasuri.com. So please join me in welcoming Christabel Flaherty. Welcome, Christabel.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's so exciting to have you here. And how is it today in London?
Relatively nice today, actually. Lots of sunshine, beautiful weather, no rain. So it's been a good day.
Excellent. And as we're starting the new year, I guess it's time to say Happy New Year as well.
Happy New Year.
Looking forward to all the great tips you're going to share with us as we venture into the new year. And this is a perfect time to discuss marketing and building our confidence so that we can really represent ourselves well. So if you could share with us some about how you even got into marketing and where this all started for you as the Marketing Muse.
Yes, so I've been in marketing now for over 10 years. I did a degree at university. It was marketing and advertising. And when I came out of university, I went straight into a marketing role and I worked for one of the dragons from Dragon's Den. So that was a very interesting experience, learned a lot, and it really accelerated my career. And for the next 8 years after that, I really managed the marketing department for various companies. So I looked after everything from strategy to putting together campaigns to tracking. So end-to-end marketing, which I really loved because there's a variety every day. So no 2 days are the same. And there was often lots of travel involved. So that was quite exciting for me. And during the pandemic, before the pandemic hit, I was working for a sci-tech company, quite local to me. And once the pandemic hit, like a lot of people, I was made redundant. And I was at a crossroads in my career, thinking, what do I do now? What's my next move? So I thought, why not start my own business? It's something that I thought about for a couple of years, but was caught up in the corporate ladder and didn't quite know how to get off. So this was the perfect opportunity for me to really give into my dreams and start a business. So some would say it's crazy timing, which it was, but for me it was perfect. It just gave me that push that I needed to start Marketing Muse.
That's really exciting because I think that I always say that the best time to start a business is now. Now is always the ideal time. So I think it all came together perfectly for you with your wonderful background. And so how did you come up with the name Marketing Muse? Because that is your company name, correct?
Yeah. So, working in marketing, I'm around lots of catchy names and, I'm used to coming up with things that would be memorable for audiences. So Marketing Muse to me basically said everything that I wanted my company to say. So marketing obviously is where my expertise lie, and muse because I'm very creative. I think outside the box and I encourage people to also think about things that maybe they not necessarily would have thought. So that's where Marketing Muse came from.
Excellent. So now, as we dive into this topic today about confidence for women and making your dream business a reality, I know you spend quite a bit of time making sure that the first step is understanding the confidence. So why do female entrepreneurs in particular have this challenge with confidence?
Yeah, so I think, women in general struggle with confidence in one area or another. We all have our own insecurities, but as women, I think there are so many limitations that we have that keep us small. And these limitations can be placed on us from society, from our family, from, our ancestors, what's, historically been done is what we should be doing. And also we put limitations on ourselves, which sometimes we don't always recognize, but they are there. And I think, as women, we are told how life is supposed to be. You go to school, you get a job, marriage, kids, all of the norms of life. But when we become entrepreneurs, we have to switch our mindset and we have to rewire the way that we think, and let go of these constraints. So I think there are lots of reasons why we feel, we lack confidence. And there are a couple of things that I can identify myself that, go hand in hand with this. And one of the biggest things is fear. So, we all fear something. The fear of the unknown as a business owner, especially if we don't have any role models. And a lot of women, growing up haven't had a role model. So when I was a girl, I was really interested in lots of things that girls weren't supposed to be doing. I was very much a tomboy. I loved football. I was always the only girl in the football team playing football, and it was a little bit of a taboo. Girls aren't supposed to play football. Girls aren't supposed to, be in tech or in science or whatever it is. It wasn't the norm. So I think because of those things, because we didn't have role models to look up to, there is fear around what that looks like, fear around failing, also fear of success, because there hasn't been a lot of opportunities or role models that we can identify and say, these women have done it. This is what it looks like. This is the way to do it. So there's lots of fear around that. And also, limiting beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs, but as entrepreneurs, there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes into play. Am I good enough? Who am I to run a successful business? Who am I to coach people? So that imposter syndrome really kicks in as a business owner, as a female. So I think it's so important to recognize these feelings when they come into play and allow yourself to sit with those feelings and really feel those feelings, because it's when you feel them, that's when you can work on overcoming them, and just remembering to be kind to yourself, really, while you're going through this process.
Those are such excellent tips and great advice, and so necessary, because many times we kind of repress or suppress, if you will, our emotions, feelings, and ignore them. And that's when you run into these problems. So yeah, I really appreciate what you're highlighting, that there is a mindset switch and being cognizant of the fact that needs to happen. And it's interesting, when you look back at maybe decisions people make or things that may have happened in the past, and you're like, oh, if it were now, I'd have made a different decision, because now you have the experience to understand maybe how could have been a better response. So that is a part of the process. I certainly have found that to be true, for sure. So I can certainly identify with that. So now, how do people go about creating this dream business, making it a reality? First of all, the dream business and making it a reality. How do we put this in motion?
Yeah, so I think, the dream business looks different to everybody. Everybody's got their own idea of what a dream business is. So, I think you need to be able to identify what that means for you. So for some people, it may mean being able to work anywhere in the world. For other people, it may mean working with your dream clients, or, it could be, for some people, they just want to work 3 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week. So identifying that is a good place to start. And once you've identified that, you need to be really clear on your why. So why have you started your business? Why have you decided? So what's the biggest driver to keep you going when you've had a hard day, because there will be those hard days, and it will be your why that helps you get through those hard days. So, and when you identify your why correctly, it will spark an emotion in you. And once that happens, you know that that essence is what you really need to hold on to. So for me, my why is to help other women that feel overwhelmed, because I know what that overwhelming feeling feels like. And I want to be able to, you know, give confidence to a woman who's really struggling, who feels this inner desire to have a successful business, and they have the tools to do it, but they lack in confidence. And I want to be able to show that woman that, you know, these are the steps that you can do, and just give her some clarity to get over that hurdle of achieving her dream. So once you're super clear on your why, you need to look at your boundaries. So having clear boundaries with your clients, so letting them know how you like to be contacted, when you're going to be contacted, you know, so looking at your non-negotiables, that's so important. And if you can implement these things in your daily routine, you'll be able to protect your mental space, you know, and this is the biggest form of self-care, is having clear boundaries, because at the end of the day, you are your biggest asset to your business. So you need to look after yourself at all costs.
At all costs, indeed. And so if you could share with us, what would be some of those tips to build confidence? How do women go about doing it if they lack that?
Yeah, I would say really tap into, you know, what's going on internally for you. So, you know, understanding that you've created this business, you started this business because there is a greater need to somebody out there who has a problem that your product or service can solve. So once you make a mindset shift, that can really help boost your confidence, because now you are allowing yourself to show up in your business to help somebody else. And that's an immediate confidence booster. And also what really helps boost confidence is, you know, recognizing all of the little wins that happen along the way. So there are things that happen every day that you may not even realize, or you just look over because, you know, our days are so busy. But just recognizing those little things can really give you a sense of gratitude and pull you back to, you know, I've done this amazing thing today, or, you know, this has been on my list for 3 weeks and now I've done it. You know, that's an immediate, you know, tick confidence booster.
Those are like really great reminders, because as you say, it's easy to forget and overlook it or minimize something that you might think, oh, well, that wasn't a big deal. But yes, it is a big deal, because you're one step closer to where you need to go. And I found that we really have a somewhat fragile mindset set up here, because it doesn't take much to get discouraged, and it doesn't take much to get encouraged either. So we really have to nurture it, as you said, protect it at all costs. That's a very important thing. So how do we continue down this path of building the dream business? What are some other things that people need to do or consider in the process? Yeah,
so like with any business, you know, you need the fundamentals. So the fundamentals of your marketing are really, really important, because without marketing, your business will not be visible. You know, you won't make any sales, and then therefore you don't have a business. So the fundamentals of marketing are really, really important. So knowing what your vision is, knowing your core values, because the core values is really what you are going to be using to draw in your ideal audience, finding those people that really have the same core values as you and will resonate with you on that level. So your core values, knowing your target audience inside out, is really, really important. Understanding what their problems are, because, you know, ultimately you are helping them solve their problem. So if you understand what they are, you can do that. And not only do that, but, you know, you can build a community of of people that just love what you do and they'll be advocates for you. So, you know, I work with lots of businesses that don't have these fundamentals in place, and they really struggle with scaling their business because they don't understand what these, you know, what these basics of marketing are. So this is a really important area.
Yeah, and also I think one area that has been challenging or can be challenging for people is the idea of the target audience and gaining that ultra clarity. What are some insights that you would recommend to people to really drill down to be able to determine these are the parameters for my target audience?
Yeah, so, you know, I like to look at the psychographic side of the target audience. So really understanding what sort of lifestyle they lead, you know, how they like to be communicated. Because if they're very visual or they're creative, then you need to be communicating them in a creative way, you know, videos, you know, as opposed to something like a blog. So really understanding what they want from you, how they like to be spoken to, how they like to be sold to, what language do they use, and just really picking up on things that they can resonate with your brand.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. And then would you say too, like, even going a little further with that, why is it so hard then for people to do this? Those barriers that they tend to face.
Yeah, because I think, you know, a lot of people are scared to, you know, to really hone in on their target audience and really niche down, because, you know, a lot of businesses have wonderful products and services, and not everybody's going to be your target audience. And, you know, as business owners, a lot of us are scared to just say, you're not my target audience, you know, this is the person I'm honing in on. And they're scared to shut people out. Mm-hmm. And I think it's only really when you are on the path to your target audience is when you can really resonate with them and hone in on what they want. Because if you're trying to market to everybody, your messaging gets lost, and your messaging is really wishy-washy and doesn't really pinpoint what that customer wants.
So, you know, it seems that many times when we talk about things like, say, core values, we can say, well, we want to be honest and we want to be authentic and all of that. What are some other more tangible words we can use that really say, this is what a core value, this is how a core value is put into practice in my business?
Yeah, I mean, and this sort of ties in with, you know, your brand promise. So every company should have a brand promise, and brand promises are usually an internal thing that you have. And, you know, you wouldn't typically share your brand promise, but your brand promise comes out in the way that you do things. So it comes out in your customer service, it comes out in how you know, how you treat your customers and how you're customer centric. So it's important to know what feeling you want to evoke in somebody. So the essence of your brand promise is, how is somebody going to feel after getting in contact with your brand or using your product or your service? You know, how have you taken that person from a feeling of, I don't know, confusion, overwhelm, pain, and brought them to the other side of feeling confident, feeling free? So it's really looking at those things in your brand promise.
That definitely helps to kind of open up the vista, if you will, on what that looks like. So what would you say are some of the common mistakes new entrepreneurs may make, or entrepreneurs in general make, when it comes to their marketing, to be more, what are they overlooking? What are they missing?
Yeah, so I think as a new entrepreneur, you know, people often want to run before they can, you know, before they can walk. So they tend to start promoting products and services before really understanding what goes before that. So before taking the time to do things like looking at their ideal audience, you know, looking at strategy is so important. And as a new business, you just want to get yourself out there. But what they're really doing is they're just shooting in the dark, they're guessing, they're trying little bits and pieces of what everybody's doing. And they haven't got, very rarely do they have a clear strategy unless they've gone through the process of the marketing fundamentals. So I think the first thing they should be doing is really putting together a strategy so they know who their target audience is, how to reach them, what are we saying to them. So, this is a big mistake that I see. People think, I've started my business, I'm going to get on Instagram, I'm going to make some posts, I'm going to, which is all good things in imperfect action. But as a business, you're not going to be sustainable if you operate that way. So having a strategy will help your business with the longevity and help your business grow.
So how do you put in place, for example, a strategy? How do you actually now sit down and say, okay, let me get started here? Because as you said, people are they'll put up a social media post, they'll put up this, they'll send an email, and maybe it feels like random things. So how do they create this cohesive outreach and do it in a way that could be effective?
So everything in marketing starts with research. So you need to know what's happening in your niche and in your market. You need to research where your ideal audience is. So where do they hang out online? What are they asking for? What Facebook groups are they in? Because they will be asking questions, asking for help, asking for tips. What are those things that they need? So really, actively listening to what they want and what they need and how that ties in with your offering. So market research is really, really important. And then obviously, with the market research, you'll understand more about your target audience, their likes, you would understand their demographics, psychographics, where you can find them. And it's about tying in your offer to all of those things. So that's how you start with a strategy.
And what would be the next step in that process? Once you do the market research, where do we ideally go from there?
Yeah, so after doing market research, and after understanding your audience, you need to be able to create messages. So create a bank of messages that you can use to promote your products and services. And these messages will depend heavily on, keywords. So you can use tools online to look at keywords that are relevant in your market. Don't use keywords that are overly used because you won't rank on SEO for those keywords. So make sure that when you're looking at keywords, you're being very strategic about which ones you pick. And also a good exercise to do is when you're doing the social listening online in Facebook groups or wherever your audience hangs out, is looking at the actual words and language that they're using. Because once you're able to connect with them on this level, using the same language, using the same phrases, then there's an immediate connection there because there's an understanding of what they want and what you can offer.
So what are some of the tools that you recommend for like the keyword search to
Yeah, there's quite a few tools out there. So I like to use Ubersuggest. That's a good keyword tool. Also, another tip that I regularly use is I just Google things. So on Google, you can get a keyword finder. And also on YouTube, if you type in the first couple of letters of what you're looking for, you will see a list of searches. And those are the most popular searches that come up. So then you can see what people are searching related to what your keyword is.
And that's really valuable to highlight since YouTube is owned by Google. It's a major search engine in of itself. And sometimes you don't think of it that way, but it certainly is. But thank you for absolutely highlighting that for sure.
Yeah. And also you can use things like Instagram. If you go in the search bar, type in what you're looking for, and then you can judge depending on the hashtag, the size of the hashtags. If it's a huge hashtag, then you know that this is a popular topic. But obviously, if you're using that hashtag on Instagram, it's not going to give you the exposure that you want because you're in a crowded market then. but it's a good way to find keywords and
So
popular topics.
yes. So Christabel, when it comes to, again, the implementation aspect, which is where a lot of people have struggles, is they may understand intuitively what you're sharing, that, yeah, these are good things, but when it's time to actually do it, it becomes another story. So like one of them is like calendar batching or batching your content. What advice would you give to people in that process of just doing that?
Yeah, so this is actually a big topic, and a lot of businesses want to know hacks and want to know secrets of how they can batch content. And I would say the best thing to do is figure out what's realistic for you. I would never suggest to any business starting out that they need to be producing content every day, because that's just unrealistic. The companies that do produce content every day are companies with teams, and there's a lot of them to take parts of that content creation process. So I'd say figure out what's realistic for you and what you can cope with. So consistency is being consistent is very important, and there's a difference between being consistent and being constant. So it's just being wary of that.
So tell me the difference, please. Between being constant.
Yeah. So constant can be constantly throughout the day. So some accounts will post 2 or 3 times a day or every day of the week. That's constant. Whereas consistent could be, if you can only manage 1 or 2 pieces of content a week, and you do that consistently, that will give you good results. If your content is targeted to your audience, that is.
So with that being said, especially with all these algorithms, Instagram has algorithms, Facebook, and YouTube, all of them. And it's this kind of pressure that you need to have something on there every day. That's the feeling. So how do you deal with that when the reality may not be so? You can barely get that done. I mean, how would I then make sure to be consistent? What will be maybe some tips to be consistent?
Yeah, so I think, when you've figured out what your sweet spot is for consistency, if it's twice a week, 3 times a week, once you've figured that out with your own workload, I would say, batch your content once a week. Pick a day that you have a relatively free day. You write out what pieces of content you want. So you have your content buckets, and you know what type of content you're creating. If you're creating educational content, entertainment content, what that is, what that looks like. Have all of your props and your tech ready, set up, and record the content. If you're making reels, make sure that you're mindful, don't record it 10, 15 times. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're recording a reel, do it 3 times, pick the best version, otherwise you could spend all day creating a reel. I know firsthand. So just, reminding yourself that nothing needs to be perfect and nothing is ever perfect. So go with what you're comfortable with, the imperfect version, and make sure that you are scheduling the content. So you can use different tools to schedule. You can use in Facebook, they've got Business Suite. You can use Business Suite to schedule content. You can use platforms like Later, Hootsuite. There's lots of platforms you can use to schedule content, and it will save you a lot of time on a daily basis. So you shouldn't really be posting on the day. It should be scheduled, because if you're posting on the day, that takes a lot of time out of your day to set that post up, write the caption, find the hashtags. All of those things can take a good amount of time away from your business. So the back end stuff like this, like the creating content, should all be created, batched, scheduled, ready to go for the week or for the month, depending on how much content you've got. So it's just easy for you on a daily basis.
That's encouraging. That's very encouraging. And I think the more that we kind of develop a habit of doing it, I think is the key. So I'm going to just ask you a couple more tips on that process and how then we can learn more about how people can work with you and how you help your clients to do this. You can take it off their shoulders altogether. So yeah. So what would you, as far as just building the habits and the routine or building, just like you're building your confidence in doing other things, building the discipline maybe to sit there and batching, what would be some of the ways that people could just start to put this as a part of their routine, what they do?
Yeah, so what I do personally, so I recognized in myself, I'm more creative in the evenings. So, after during the day, I have my meetings and I do, client work and all of those things. But when I'm creating content or if I'm writing anything that needs to be particularly creative, I set time aside in the evening to do that because I know that that's my time, that I can just get it done really quickly because my brain is wired that way in the evenings. So being mindful of how you like to work. I mean, it may be in the mornings, it may be first thing in the mornings. So just recognizing that, block some time out on your calendar, try and make it a regular times every week that you're there. This is my content creation time. This is the time that I can do it. And, again, it goes back to setting boundaries. So you can have a boundary in place that's my, creative time, my content time. Nothing can disturb that time, because if it does, then it spills over into the rest of the week, and then I get overwhelmed, and then I don't post any content. So it's having that boundary in place for the content creation and having it at a set time would really help.
Wow. Christabel, you give me such peace and confidence just hearing you speak about this, because that is the whole idea, that just like you're saying, you kind of develop a rhythm, and everyone has to develop a rhythm that they can sustain, and that can also be effective at the same time. So finding,
that's it just it needs to be right for you, and everybody's different, so you need to find what's right for you and be okay with that. Just because somebody's creating content, 7 pieces of content a week and posting every day, doesn't mean that you should be doing that too, because they could be 5-10 years along in their business and you could be at year 2. So finding what's right for you.
And that's the thing, we mustn't look at it as competition, and that's such a critical point to highlight, that you need to be creative, not competitive.
That's it.
And that is really the thing to focus on, because that will just make it grow, allow you to be more creative, as opposed to worrying what other people are doing. You have your mission to fulfill, so to do that. So Christabel, how do people work with you? Where can people find you online and learn more about your programs and services?
Yeah, so you can find me at marketingmuse.co.uk. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Marketing Muse. And my clients work with me in different ways. So I have a done for you service where a client will come to me and they'll say, I don't have time. Can you please just, create content for me, manage my social media? Or they'll say, please just, work some magic with emails, give me an email sequence. So that's a done for you service. And then I also have clients that will say, I'd love to learn, I actually enjoy creating content, or I enjoy marketing, but I just don't know how to do it. So I also offer one-to-one coaching. And I also have a program where I take female entrepreneurs that, new female entrepreneurs or businesses that have never done any marketing before, and I take them through the stages of zero marketing to feeling confident. So right the way through to fundamentals of marketing, all of the ideal client work, right the way through to creating content and messaging. So end-to-end marketing in that program.
How long is that program?
That program is 3 months long.
Wow. Okay,
12 weeks, yeah.
So those are some great options to connect with you. So I invite everyone to go and follow you on Instagram and connect with you on your website. So at The Real Marketing Muse to find
Yes.
Christabel on Instagram. So do you have like a book or a resource that you could share with us that people can go and read some more to become better marketers or become more confident in their marketing?
So there's a great book actually by Suzanne Doyle Morris, and it's called Beyond the Boys Club. And this book, yeah, it's a great book. It's about achieving career success as a woman in a male-dominated environment. And in the book, it includes insights from senior women in organizations like senior women from Microsoft and, you know, big companies like that. So you can have an idea of what it's like to be a CEO in these environments. So it's really, really interesting.
That's an awesome book. That sounds great. Every time I ask my guests this question, I'm always excited by the responses because 9 out of 10, it's a new book I've never heard of, and it just expands our library. So that's wonderful. Yeah. Beyond the Boys Club.
I also love podcasts. I'm always listening to a podcast when I'm driving because I'm constantly, you know, driving somewhere. So the Boss Babe podcast is one of my favorites.
Say that again?
Boss Babe.
Boss Babe. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good podcast, and they go through, you know, all of the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship. They have some great guest speakers on there, and also Purely Being is a great podcast for mindset and meditation, which I try to do every day. So that's a good one.
Oh, that is so cool. I'm going to check them all out. Thank you so much for sharing those. And so what would you say as we wrap up today, like what would be, of all the great things you've shared with us, what would be like the number one tip that people should go, an action step they can implement today? Like right now, once they finish listening to you.
One tip. I'd say take a step back from your business and look at things from a bird's eye view. And, you know, quite often we are in our businesses, in the hustle and in the, you know, everything of the business. So taking a step back will allow you to firstly appreciate how far you've come, and also identify opportunities or identify areas that actually, you know, you can level up on. So taking a step back would really give you that overview of what to do next, or what to improve, or where to celebrate. So I think that's a really good exercise to do, you know, at least once a year, you know, going into a new year. That's a really good thing to do, or every quarter if you can.
So that's another habit to develop, just like when you're batching and when you're doing your content creation, you want to build in your reflection time.
That's it.
So that you can achieve these things. Well, Christabel, you've shared so many gems with us today. Thank you so much for supercharging with us into the new year.
Thanks for having me.
And these wonderful insights that will allow us to cover our bases with our marketing and do it more confidently. So again, everyone, follow Christabel at The Real Marketing Muse on Instagram. Follow me at Emily the Entrepreneur at Instagram, and make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you like this video, which if you found it helpful, which I know you have. So make sure to tell a friend and get the word out about these wonderful people that come on and share such wonderful things with us. So thank you again, Christabel, and thank you everyone for watching. And in the meantime, stay supercharged. See you next time.